At 6:12 a.m., right as the world's still half asleep and the only thing on anyone's mind is coffee or a couple more minutes in bed, 50 toothbrushes in willow trace froze mid-scrub, faucets started coughing out air like a dying radiator, and every sprinkler in the neighborhood just gave up the ghost. The big, proud fountain at the entrance, this chlorinated, over-the-top monument to HOA pride, was dead silent, nothing but a concrete tongue sticking out at the world. And upstream, well, that polite little creek that's been my companion for decades, the one that runs behind my fence and sings me to sleep most nights, was gone, replaced by a heap of gravel that looked like it was auditioning for a role as a road. Yeah, that happened. By the time the sun hit, the whole disaster was out in the open. 12 tons of industrial-grade gravel suffocating what used to be a crystal-clear ribbon of water, turning my slice of peace into something you might see on a bad episode of Suburban Tyrants. And you better believe I noticed. I'm Graham Ellison. Been here in Cedar Hollow longer than Willow Trace has had a name. Just a quiet guy who likes his woodworking and the sound of the creek drifting over blackberry brambles. My family's kept this land for 37 years, and our creek's been around even longer, winding through willows and tangled brush before the first beige McMansion ever popped up. But none of that mattered to Evelyn Sharp. If you don't know her, count yourself lucky. HOA president, visor glued to her head, clipboard always loaded, voice set permanently to per my last email. She only moved in 3 years ago, but you'd think she was the mayor of Willow Trace and the surrounding 4 zip codes. She took over the HOA board like Napoleon on a bender, except her idea of warfare was paperwork and passive aggression. She called my creek a mosquito trench, then sent me a certified letter, Comic Sans of all things, demanding I remediate the waterway to fit some imaginary neighborhood standard. And here's the punchline. I'm not even in the HOA. I'm 11 feet outside their jurisdiction and about 11 miles outside their patience. Still, I hung that letter right in my shop, between Grandpa's old hand tools and a photo of the creek from '87. Evelyn wasn't done. Next, I started finding courtesy violation tags stuck to my door in angry red ink with more exclamation points than cents, and there's no HOA logo, just her signature, like she was the sheriff of taste. Then a drone shows up, buzzing low while I'm sanding a table, close enough to smell the cedar oil. And every morning, there she is at my property line with a ruler in a leather holster. Like a cowboy, if cowboys measured creek stones and whispered about aesthetic inconsistencies. She took more photos of my backyard than I have of my own kids. Her next move was to bring in reinforcements. Picture this, a landscape architect named Bradley, bow tie wilting in 90-degree heat, talking about problematic design elements. They stood there building a vision board out of magazine clippings, concrete channels, decorative gravel, whatever else they could find in a Deserts of America catalog. Bradley suggests we color coordinate river rocks. I suggested he find a new hobby. Evelyn didn't care. If I wouldn't turn my creek into a rock garden, she'd do it for me. And one Tuesday night, nearly midnight, my security cameras catch a skid steer, a pair of guys in matching neon shirts, and a suspiciously new roll of landscaping fabric. They dumped 12 tons of gravel right into the channel, covering the creek so thick you'd think they were hiding a crime scene. I stood on my porch filming, watching Evelyn, safety vest, folding chair, coffee in hand, supervising like it was a backyard circus. Just before they finished, I noticed a new pipe at the edge of the HOA, a little pump house with a line running straight into the creek bed. That was new. By morning, the damage was done. My creek was silent, nothing but rocks and dust. And now, Willow Trace, this fancy little HOA, had no water. Zero. Not a drop in the clubhouse, none in the pool, half the homes standing around with shampoo in their hair and foam stuck to their faces. Margaret from Unit 47 was out there with bottled Evian rinsing her hair. Brad, one of the HOA's self-appointed enforcers, was seen at the gas station, bathrobe flapping, clutching gallon jugs of water with soap suds still on his chest. The HOA group chat, I'm told, set a record. 300 messages in 1 hour, ranging from, "Has anyone called a plumber?" to full-on digital panic. Now, let me back up a sec. I'm not a petty man, but I am thorough. That morning, I sent out a neat packet. Timestamped video of the gravel operation, maps, a glamour shot of Evelyn with her wand, everything, to the County Watershed Office, State Environmental Quality Department, Army Corps of Engineers, even the EPA. Just for fun, I looped in a few environmental lawyers. The response was immediate. Water district guys showed up with gadgets straight out of a spy movie, tracing that new pipe. Turns out Willow Trace had been siphoning off creek water illegally to keep their fountain running and their lawns a little too green, and the whole setup was a cross-connection nightmare. They shut off the main meter until further notice. Translation: no water for anyone, not even for Evelyn's espresso machine. The water inspector's reaction was priceless. He took one look at the setup and said it was going straight onto his wall of shame back at the office. Turns out, that illegal tap had been running for years, 7, to be exact, long before Evelyn showed up, but she sure didn't do anything to stop it. They'd been stealing about 12,000 gallons a month in the summer, enough to fill a pool every 2 months. The sheriff slapped a big, laminated trespass warning on my fence. No entry except for yours truly, Graham Ellison. The state issued an emergency order. Remove the gravel, restore the creek, hire a real hydrologist. The Corps froze every HOA project, from their new meditation garden to, yeah, you guessed it, a planned new water feature. Now, you'd think Evelyn would lay low. Nope. She marches over, voice rising to dog whistle frequency, accusing me of weaponizing bureaucracy. The sheriff standing there had to hide a grin. She actually used the phrase, environmental terrorism. You can't make this stuff up. The sheriff, still holding her restraining order, raised an eyebrow so high I thought it might just lift off his face. She left that day with a court date and an order to stay 50 feet from my land and 100 from the creek. For the first time, someone measured things right. The HOA called an emergency meeting. Residents spilled into the hallway. Someone brought popcorn. Local news vans showed up. Turns out, one neighbor, Patricia, got hold of Evelyn's emails through a records request. 237 pages of pure gold. Everything from do it at night to it's not a creek, it's a ditch with PR. There was even a Microsoft Paint diagram titled Operation Aqua Compliance. When those emails hit the projector, you could feel the room go cold. Even Bradley, the landscape guy, looked embarrassed. And when the county inspector started explaining fines, per day, per shovel, the board couldn't vote Evelyn out fast enough. She tried to stop them, reading from what she called the HOA Constitution, which turned out to be a printout from a home decor blog. Then she tried to invoke Robert's rules, but she was holding Emily Post's etiquette. The vote was unanimous. The aftermath was a scene. Restoration crews pulled rocks out one by one, the illegal pump house demolished, a real backflow preventer installed. But it was the fines that really told the story. $23,000 to the state, $41,000 to the Army Corps, $38,000 for restoration, $15,000 in legal fees, $8,000 for emergency water, $6,000 for the hydrologist, $4,000 for permits. And Evelyn, who signed the check for the midnight gravel parade with the HOA's slush fund, was hit with her own bill. $18,000 in personal fines, 300 hours of Saturday morning community service, rain or shine, cleaning storm drains in a poncho, right in front of the fountain she killed. She was banned from any HOA board in the county for 5 years and had to pass an 8-hour creek stewardship class, test and all. The judge, a fly fisherman, spent 20 minutes explaining why riparian zones matter, while Evelyn turned every shade of purple you can imagine. She tried to argue it was about property values, but the judge cut her off. Creeks don't follow HOA bylaws. When she tried to claim she was protecting folks from mosquitoes and unseemly wildlife, the judge tacked on another 50 hours of wetland restoration, just for good measure. As the gavel came down, Evelyn looked like a fish out of water, mouth opening and closing, eyes wide, her kingdom of concrete and control crumbling faster than a sandcastle in the tide. I won't say I smiled, but let's just say I brought my lawn chair to the next HOA meeting. As for the creek, well, water finds its way, always has, always will. You'd think that'd be the end of it, but around here, battles over what's right and proper never really die. So tell me, what would you have done if it was your backyard? Was I right to fight back, or did I go too far? Let's hear it. Drop your thoughts down below. Whose side are you on, and where should the line be between community rules and good old-fashioned common sense? Don't forget to hit like, share your wildest HOA story, and subscribe if you want more tales from the suburban front lines. The creek's running again, and so's the gossip. So let's keep the conversation flowing.